What's up everyone, Howler here, coach of your Delta Gligars. Today I'm bringing you the week 4 team builder for the BBR. We are going up against Chase, aka CBAD, and his Detroit Steel Wings. You can see his team on the right side of the screen. Chase is off to a 2-1 start with a much better differential than us because he got a 6-0 win week 2 off the back of Urshifu Rapid Strike, which is starting to become one of the mascots of the BBR because of how well it performed for the championship team last season and how well it's performing again this season. So that's definitely a big threat. I think having Tangrowth on our team really helps us be able to deal with the Urshifu Rapid Strike, and we have some other good things to deal with it as well, but there's a lot more threats on his team than just the Urshifu. One thing I do notice about his team though is that it is overwhelmingly physical. There really aren't very many special attacking threats on his team. I mean, Grimmsnarl could be mixed, but it generally wants to be physical. Arcanine could also be mixed. Really the only super strong special attackers that you see, both of his psychic types being Alolan Raichu and Kadabra. And so we can outspeed those with this Dragapult. That's all that we're creeping. We are not creeping max speed Crobat. In my opinion, Crobat is a huge threat to my team because I just don't have flying resists. So it can fire off really powerful, really powerful Brave Birds, and I just don't have anything to switch into that. My main defensive Mon, being Tangrowth, doesn't like to take on the Crobat. So, this Dragapult, we should outspeed a Crobat if Crobat's only running enough speed for our Cobalion, and we do actually have a few leftover EVs in there as well. So, my reasoning for that is he's going to want to run Adamant, or he's just going to want to run a more bulky set with Roost. And he's going to want more EVs and other stats besides speed, because he doesn't know what kind of Dragapult investment I'm going to have. So if he runs like Adamant with lots of HP, then that means he takes less recoil from Brave Bird, so he can keep his Crobat around for longer. That's the general idea behind that. So we can burn pretty much anything we want if we get a burn off. Then we can hex stuff. We can't hex the Lickitung, and I would not be surprised if Lickitung came because he's already brought it twice. It matches up pretty well against Dragapult. It's his only cleric on the team against my team, which often really relies on status and just being annoying. So I feel like Lickitung can definitely see the field in this game. U-turn just for momentum, and then Draco Meteor just for another attacking option against Mons that we can outspeed. And if some status gets cured, then we can go for like Draco Meteor will obviously be a lot stronger than Hex against most things on his team. Next up, we have a Choice Specs Moltres because he doesn't really have good switch-ins to flying either. He has Steelix, which isn't very naturally specially defensive, but we can even switch this in on a Steelix and go for Choice Specs Fiery Wrath instead. And unless he switches in the Grimmsnarl, something's going to be taking a massive chunk on his team. U-turn's just there for momentum again. I don't really want to be clicking U-turn with this thing. I want to be clicking like Fiery Wrath or either of my flying moves. If I'm in front of the Urshifu or the Rillaboom, both of which are weak to flying, I don't need to risk Hurricane hitting. I can just go for the more accurate Air Slash. But if I bring this in against something like the Weezing, which I also think is something that could come because Galarian Weezing came against me a couple weeks ago. If I get this in against the Weezing, then I can go for the more powerful Choice Specs Hurricane and just try to eliminate that thing immediately. So yeah, getting rid of Weezing is really nice. I realize now that if the neutralizing gas Weezing comes again, It means it's a grounded poison, so it can soak up toxic spikes from Tentacruel, which otherwise toxic spikes would be very, very good in this game. So neutralizing gas I think makes sense. I don't think he needs levitate to check Diggersby, because I just think in general Diggersby does not have a good matchup in this game. Just staring down the Rillaboom with Grassy Glide and the Urshifu with Surging Strikes, it just doesn't take those mons on at all. So unfortunately, Diggersby is sitting on the bench once again. You have this Tangrowth here though, very physically defensive to obviously take on the majority of his physical mons, mainly the Rillaboom and the Urshifu Rapid Strike. So he can Giga Drain the Urshifu, Sludge Bomb the Rillaboom, and also Sludge Bomb the Grimmsnarl. We are actually running speed investment on Tangrowth to outspeed non-invested Grimmsnarl. I figured I'd probably be physically bulky enough with the EVs that I have already. I could afford to invest a little bit in speed to catch that Grimmsnarl off guard a little bit and get some good Sludge Bomb damage off against it. Then we have Synthesis because I mentioned neutralizing gas, wheezing. That's a good switch in to Tangrowth, assuming that I don't have like Earthquake, because grassy terrain Earthquake doesn't really make sense to bring that against CBAD's team. So if he switches in a wheezing that it's neutralizing gas, he will cancel out my regenerator, and he will prevent he can wear down my Tangrowth that way by preventing me from getting regenerator health off, which is pretty smart, honestly. If he wants to do that, then that's a pretty good strategy. That's why we have Synthesis, to keep our Tangrowth healthy. So just so that we don't allow the wheezing to prevent our regenerator from giving us HP back. And then we also have Stun Spore to potentially catch a Crobat switching in if we can get that thing paralyzed, and it makes it so much easier for the rest of our team to take it on, because everything else on our team will outspeed Crobat if it gets paralyzed. Well, not the Tangrowth. The Tangrowth won't outspeed, but we don't need... Tangrowth's not staying in on it regardless. We're still going to have to switch something into a Brave Bird, which is why the Cobalion is here with Citrus Berry. If Crobat comes out at any point, Cobalion has to come in because it can take 2 Brave Birds with the Citrus Berry. I honestly considered bringing Luxio just to switch into Crobat. However, Crobat could be Inner Focus, so Intimidate would not work in that case. And, if Luxio wouldn't really be that bad, because unless Steelix comes, it always gets a free Volt Switch. The other problem with Luxio is that Intimidate doesn't stop Urshifu from clicking Surging Strikes, because all 3 hits crit. The Intimidate doesn't affect it. So, I mean, Urshifu kind of has a weird matchup here. I think it's... if it's really wanting to spam Surging Strikes, then it's almost forced to run Protective Pads against my Tangrowth. I'm not really sure what exactly he's going to want to do with that Pokemon, but it's such a good Mon. It's one of the top Mons on his team. I would be surprised if he didn't bring it, but I wouldn't blame him if he left it on the bench. Anyways, this Cobalion, we can switch in to the Brave Birds from Crobat. One of our main ways of wearing down the Crobat is Stealth Rocks. So we can switch in, take 1 Brave Bird, get up our rocks, and if it's a super offensive Crobat, then it's probably not going to have Defog. So the rocks should be there to stay. The only other hazard removal he has on his team, I believe, is the Rapid Spinning Carkol. The only ways he can get rid of them are Defog, Crobat, and yeah, the Rapid Spinning Carkol. I didn't really think too much about Carkol wanting to come, but I guess against my team it wouldn't be terrible. I would need to rely on Tentacruel just hitting it with a Scald to do big damage to it, but because that's also a flying resist for Moltres technically, so yeah, it's possible he wants to bring that, but how many NFE Mons do you want to fit onto one team, Yeah, so just Volt Switch for momentum. This thing really isn't meant to do damage. It's just meant to. It's just here as a support mon. We can take on Grimmsnarl to an extent. So Brick Break, if he is a screen set, we can make sure that those screens go away, and he does not have a ghost type, so nothing will be immune to Brick Break. And then just Ironhead for the Grimmsnarl as well, and just hitting. Yeah, it's basically just there for Grimmsnarl. Ironhead doesn't really hit much else, to be honest. Although we do outspeed Kadabra, so if this is still around and Kadabra is in, then we can go for an Ironhead, have a 30% chance to flinch, and then we can break through the sashed Kadabra that way. So next on the team, Comfey. I learned my lesson from last time. I should be running max special attack on Comfey whenever possible. So I'm gonna just run the simple spread this time and see how it does. Very annoying set. Again, as I mentioned, it's just kind of the nature of this team to be annoying. Not how I would like to play if I had my ideal team. Like I want to be able to bring Diggersby and Wall Break, but against CBAD's team, I just don't like its matchup against the top two mons in particular. So Sub Leech Seed is nice. We can get around. We do not have to rely on stored power to beat Weezing with Sub Leech Seed, because we can just get free chip on it with Leech Seed and then continuously clicking sub. I thought about, I don't know if Grassy Seed is the best item choice or not, but if we get the defense boost when Rillaboom comes in and gets the Grassing Surge off, then we can take a lot more hits than we would be able to otherwise. We can take hits from said Rillaboom. We can take hits from the Arcanine better, which Arcanine would be able to resist our Draining Kiss and always take on this Comfey. Unless he runs speed on the Arcanine, we should be able to outspeed it and get and get faster subs off, faster toxics off, faster. Well, Leech Seed actually has priority thanks to Triage, but yeah. So this thing is nice because it's priority against Urshifu. We hit it super effectively. We hit Grimmsnarl super effectively. Yeah. Hopefully, Comfey puts in a little more work than it did in the last game. I was hoping that it could be the MVP for the team, and it just fell short, unfortunately. But here it's just kind of, this week it's just here to be more annoying, if anything. So Tentacruel, offensively, I think Tentacruel matches up pretty well here. I decided not to run a ton of speed on this. I don't know if I'm going to regret that, because I could have tried to outspeed Urshifu if I really wanted to. But I have Tangrowth for Urshifu. I feel like I have a lot on my team to deal with Urshifu, so instead I went with a bulkier spread, and we still have quite a bit of special attack investment. The physical defense, we can take Banded Bravebird from Crobat from full HP, so Black Sludge recovery could help us get back into a range where we could actually live a hit from that thing. We're running knockoff specifically for Lickitung, so we can get rid of its Eviolite. Otherwise, with Eviolite, there's no way that it can take Specs hits from my Moltres. So Tentacruel being able to support the team in that way, I think is good. Knockoff, I didn't really like knockoff on Tangrowth. I didn't want to be switching Tangrowth into a Lickitung, but yeah, so Tentacruel can kind of take on that, and Rapid Spin, of course, is great. Being able to keep rocks off the field so that Moltres can continuously come in and spam Specs attacks is going to be really helpful. Scald is great just because nothing on his team really wants to switch in and get burned, and the only thing that can't get burned, being Arcanine, is weak to Scald, and it's going to take a lot. I don't know how much speed he's going to want to run on that, but with our physical defense investment, if he runs a bit of a faster set, then we should be able to take a hit and get a couple Scalds off. So that's going to be the team this week. If you're excited for the match, be sure to leave a like on this video. Tell me what you think about the team in the comments. Subscribe to the channel to keep up with all of our Draft League content, and we'll see you tomorrow for the match.